Hello, welcome to this video in which we will explain the security measures for contractors and suppliers who come to APM Terminals Algeciras, which, as you know, is one of the largest terminals in the Mediterranean. Basic rules and accreditation. The access of workers and vehicles to the terminal must be requested in advance. Vehicles must be identified with the company logo and carry a luminous sign. Remember that in the terminal you must carry your personal identification card at all times. Security may request your documentation at any time. You can only access the areas to which you have been expressly authorized. It is not allowed to take photos and videos without authorization. In addition, it is totally forbidden to introduce any type of bladed weapon or firearm. Surely you already know the harm of alcohol and other drugs while driving, so access to the terminal under the influence of alcohol and other substances is not allowed. We inform you that random alcohol and drug controls are carried out at the terminal. These controls are also carried out in the event of a collision or accident. If you witness a suspicious situation such as theft, vandalism, illicit traffic or intruders, immediately notify the security control at 1941, or if you call them from an external phone, 956 671 941. Areas and buildings of the terminal, layout of the terminal. So that you become familiar with the terminal, below we show you the most popular areas and buildings. Main building, where the operations and maintenance area is located on the ground floor. North access turnstile. Workshops, warehouse and yard crane repair area. Warehouse of chemical products in the maintenance area. Dangerous goods management tent. Groupage area. Bus stops. Pedestrian traffic lanes. Rest areas. Cafeteria. Medical service. Vehicles and machinery. In the terminal, there is a high density of heavy machinery, so you must pay close attention. The main vehicles and machinery that you can find in our facility are the following: tractors and trucks, reach stacker, forklift, yard cranes, also called RTG or transtainer, key cranes, also called STS or portainer. Vehicle access and exits. Vehicles will enter through the service lane, which is the first lane on the right, next to the security checkpoint. At that point, security will proceed to identify the vehicle and driver. The service lane is a single access and exit lane, so the right-of-way rule will be used for the vehicle that is circulating in it. The maximum speed in this lane is 10 km per hour. Environmental recommendations. The terminal has a waste segregation system. Please deposit the waste in the appropriate container. Do not throw waste on the ground. Much of it ends up in the sea. To avoid tire punctures, it is important that you keep your work areas clean. Make a responsible consumption of resources, especially water, electricity, and fuel. In your daily tasks, follow the principle of the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. In the event of a spill, use containment materials if possible, and notify maintenance. Traffic rules. To access the patio, quay, and workshops, a helmet high visibility vest and safety footwear will be required, in addition to the specific PPE depending on the task to be carried out. Regarding traffic regulations, you must take into account the following. When you drive, pay maximum attention to the machinery. Always drive in your lane. Always respect road signs. The container stacking lanes, which are the yard lanes, are named from A to L, with A being the one located furthest to the east, next to the dock operations area, and L the last lane next to the west fence of the terminal. Each of these roads pass through the various zones into which the terminal is divided, with Zone 6 being the furthest south and Zone 12 the furthest north. The direction of movement through the container stacking lanes will be from south to north. However, road trucks may circulate from north to south on these streets in exceptional situations due to operational circumstances. The key avenue has two-way traffic and a high density of heavy traffic. The hatch covers are positioned in this area, so extreme caution is required to avoid collisions due to lack of visibility. You should also take special care when you access from the main avenue, as well as on the M zone, groupage and maintenance roads, which also have two-way traffic. The roads that cross perpendicularly to the previous ones and that produce the diversion between the different areas of the terminal are called mid-street roads. These roads also have two-way traffic. In general, the maximum speed will be 30 km per hour, paying attention to the curves and access to the mid-streets that will be limited between 10 and 15 km per hour. Exercise extreme caution at the intersection of the mid-streets and make a stop at the end of them. It is mandatory to wear a seatbelt in all types of vehicles. When driving, the use of mobile phones or any electronic device that may cause a distraction is prohibited. It is forbidden to circulate or cross through the stacking area that is free in order to shorten the path. It is mandatory to complete the route of a stacking street and take the turn in a prudent manner towards the desired destination. Park exclusively in authorized places and never in the area of operations. It is strictly prohibited to stop or park vehicles on the traffic lanes of yard or dock cranes and in the entire operations area of the portainers. The RTG cranes always have priority in the streets and traffic intersections, since these cranes, due to their special characteristics, while moving do not have a direct view of both sides. Therefore, it is very important that you do not invade the treads of the transtainer cranes, which are the lines marked in yellow, and try to keep a certain distance from them. Also, do not invade the safety distance, which is marked with a red line. On container lanes, drive in the central lane. Prevention rules to take into account at the terminal. Vehicles circulating through the terminal must respect all the regulations indicated above. The driver must have the specific training for each vehicle to be used and be authorized to use it. Pedestrian lanes. Walking is only allowed in the pedestrian lanes shown on the map. In the terminal, we have a bus line with different stops, so its use is recommended. All personnel must inform their superior about the unsafe situations observed in the terminal, as well as warn of material, equipment, or tools that are in poor condition or do not meet safety requirements. Your work area must be in optimal conditions of order and cleanliness. Before the start of the work, the contractor must always go to the maintenance supervisor's office to request the work order. In addition, he must register on the board available for this purpose in the office. Once the work is finished, he will communicate its completion in the same way. For adequate coordination, it will be necessary for all the companies that carry out work on the RTG cranes and on the STS cranes to place a sign at the base of the access stairs identifying the name of the company. In addition, if you have to carry out work on Portainer cranes, you must take into account the current interlocking instructions, which will prevent uncontrolled operation of the machine and possible accidents. Before starting work inside the crane engine rooms or transformer centers, it is mandatory to disconnect the firefighting system following the instructions provided next to the switchboard. Once the work is finished, the fire protection system must be reconnected, following the indications on the sign in each room. In certain jobs that, due to their particular conditions and high risk, require a detailed treatment, it will be necessary to process a safe work permit. For example, if you are going to carry out work at height in confined spaces, welding or electrical works. Under no circumstances walk or stand under suspended loads. Do not stand in the radius of action of work equipment such as forklifts and trustainers. Clearly mark your location. Your visibility is important. Always pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to the acoustic and light signaling of the vehicles. Do not smoke in places where there is a risk of explosion and fire. Use electrical equipment in perfect condition. Working at height altitudes. Before carrying out work that involves a risk of falling from a height, make sure that you have the appropriate collective protection, as well as the necessary PPEs where appropriate. When accessing cranes, keep in mind the following safety measures to avoid falling incidents. Hold onto railings with both hands going up and down, and wear gloves. Do not get distracted when going up or down the stairs. Do not talk on the phone. Always watch where you step. Go slowly, step by step, and do not jump down. Make sure steps and shoes are clean of grease, and wear a tool belt to keep your hands free. Exercise extreme caution when you circulate in the proximity of reefer tower areas, because you may find personnel working. When you carry out works under hot conditions, you must notify the person in charge in advance to take the appropriate measures based on the rest of the activities and stored merchandise. Remember that with adverse weather such as rain, extreme caution must be exercised and speed reduced to 10 km an hour and 5 km an hour on curves. Therefore, you must respect the wind protocol established at APM terminals. Stay away from patio areas and empty containers, and reduce traffic speed. Management of loads. Do not try to control or stop a heavy load manually, or guide them directly with your hands while they're in motion. If you have to carry out work on the quay, coordinate your task with APM Terminals Operations Department. Define your work area, do not approach the quay edge, and if necessary, have life-saving equipment available. Action in case of emergency. If you detect an emergency, notify APM Terminals Algeciras staff immediately, or call the Emergency Control Center 2222 or 956 633 463 if you call from an external telephone. On the 15th of each month at 12 o'clock, the evacuation siren will sound as a test. In case of activation of the evacuation alarm siren outside the date and time indicated above, please act according to the following indications. Stop what you are doing, disconnect the tools or devices you are using at that moment, and strictly follow the instructions of those responsible for the evacuation. Furthermore, leave the terminal in an orderly manner, by the least dangerous route, and go to the meeting point indicated. If you are not at your workplace, join the first evacuation group you find on your way. Once at the meeting point, contact your evacuation manager. A safe day is surely a great day. So remember, always keep a safe attitude.